AITA for accepting paternity after a DNA test proved my ex-wife lied, but refusing to take her back? I'm Lewis, 38, and Vanessa had already been my ex-wife for almost 3 years when she came back. We had been married for 7 years before that. Long enough that, even after the divorce, I sometimes caught myself reaching for the tea only she drank when I was at the grocery store. I would notice the box in my hand, remember who she had become, and put it back. The boy standing beside her looked about 3. He had Vanessa's dark eyes, a serious little face, and both hands wrapped around a red toy truck with most of the paint worn off one side. Vanessa had a folder under one arm and an overnight bag hanging from her shoulder. She looked exhausted. Not movie scene exhausted. Real exhausted. Her hair was pulled back badly, her coat was half-zipped, and there was a juice stain on one sleeve. "Can we come in?" she asked. My first instinct was no. My second was to look at the child. He was studying the bowl of keys on the table behind me, as if he understood that this was someone else's house, and that his mother was asking for more than a conversation. "You can come into the entryway for a minute," I said. "The bag stays outside." Vanessa's mouth tightened. "Lewis, please." Not in front of him. That stopped her. She looked down at the boy and forced her voice lower. "This is Eli." I crouched a little, but I did not reach for him. "Hi, Eli." He pressed the truck against his chest. Vanessa opened the folder and handed me a report. I read Damon's name, the laboratory information, and the conclusion stating he was excluded as Eli's biological father. My stomach dropped, but not for the reason Vanessa expected. For almost 3 years, Damon had been the man listed as Eli's father. He had been the man in the birthday pictures relatives occasionally showed me. He had been the man Vanessa insisted had made any question from me insulting, controlling, and pathetic. Now his name was on a piece of paper saying he was not biologically related to the child at all. Vanessa watched my face. "You understand what this means." I looked at the report again. "It means Damon isn't his biological father. You're the only other possibility. That report tells me who Damon isn't. It doesn't tell me who I am." She stared at me as though I had failed to follow the ending she had already written. "Damon left," she said. "His attorney is challenging everything. I can't stay where we were living, and Mom's place is crowded. Eli needs stability." There it was. Not "I came because you deserve to know." Not "I'm sorry." Not even "I may have taken your son from you." Eli needs stability. I stepped aside long enough to get a package of crackers and a juice box from the kitchen. I handed them to Vanessa instead of directly to him because I did not know his allergies, his routines, or whether he took food from strangers. That realization cut deeper than the report. I did not know whether my possible son could eat peanut butter. I did not know what he called his blanket, whether he slept with a light on, or what song calmed him down. Vanessa gave him the crackers. He whispered, "Thank you," without looking at me. Then she said, "We can use your spare room tonight." "No." Her face changed immediately. "Lewis, no one is moving in. He may be your son. And if he is, I'll handle that responsibly. You moving into my house is a separate question, and the answer is no. You're doing this because you hate me. I'm doing this because you arrived with an overnight bag before you arrived with proof." Eli flinched at the edge in my voice. I hated myself for that. I lowered it. "You both need somewhere safe tonight. I'll pay for a motel for 2 nights directly. I'm not giving you cash, and I'm not signing anything." Vanessa laughed once, but there was no humor in it. "You really need paperwork for everything." Paperwork became necessary when truth became optional. That was cruel. It was also true, and at the time I cared more about the second part. I called my older sister, Rachel, and asked her to come over. I did not explain much. I just said Vanessa was there with a child, and I needed another adult present. Rachel arrived 15 minutes later wearing sweatpants under a long coat, her hair still damp from a shower. She looked at Vanessa, then at Eli, and all the anger left her face. "Hey, buddy," she said softly. "That's a good truck." Eli finally looked up. While Rachel sat with him on the edge of the living room rug, I photographed every page of Damon's report. Vanessa kept saying we did not have time for this. "We have exactly enough time to do this correctly," I said. She asked me to send the motel payment as child support so she could show Damon's attorney that I had accepted responsibility. I looked at her for several seconds. "No." "Why not?" "Because you don't get to classify my actions for your case." I booked 2 nights under her name and sent her a message while she was still standing in front of me. Emergency lodging paid directly for Vanessa and Eli for 2 nights. This payment is not an acknowledgement of paternity, legal parentage, support obligations, or consent to cohabitation. I will arrange verified testing through counsel. She read it and looked disgusted. He is a child, Lewis. I know. That's why I'm being careful. After they left, Rachel stood in my kitchen while I stared at the unopened box of crackers on the counter. You okay? She asked. No. Do you think he's yours? I thought there was a chance 3 years ago. Rachel leaned against the sink. You never said that out loud. I tried not to. That was not completely true. I had said it in emails. I had said it to Vanessa. I had said it to my attorney during the divorce. I had said it to myself on Eli's first birthday, his second, and his third. Then I had buried it because hoping for a child I had been ordered to stay away from was making me sick. The next morning, I called Marisol Grant, the family law attorney who had handled part of my divorce. She had a practical voice that could make a disaster sound like a checklist. I sent her Damon's report. She called back 20 minutes later. This excludes Damon, she said. It does not establish you. We also do not know what legal acknowledgments or court orders currently exist. Biology, legal parentage, support, and custody are connected. They are not interchangeable. I want to test immediately. I know. Today, fast and usable are not always the same thing. I closed my eyes. She explained that we needed an accredited laboratory, identity verification, sealed samples, chain of custody records, and filings appropriate to the existing situation. She also told me not to promise Vanessa housing, money, a parenting schedule, or public statements before we understood what had already been signed and challenged. Then she pointed out something I had missed. Damon's sample had been collected 14 days before Vanessa arrived at my door. She had known for 2 weeks. I texted her. Why did you wait 14 days to contact me? Her reply came less than a minute later. I needed time to process. Damon was angry. Eli was confused. I was trying to protect him. Then, 10 minutes after that, my phone started buzzing with messages from Vanessa's family. Her mother, Carol, had posted in the family group chat that I had rejected Eli for the 2nd time. Carol, he needs somewhere safe tonight. Me, I paid the motel directly. Safety is handled. Paternity is not confirmed. A cousin, why does everything need a lawyer? Me, because the last verbal story cost me 3 years. Vanessa, stop acting like I did this to hurt you. Me, then stop telling people I chose it. I typed another message after that. It was long, angry, and designed to embarrass her. I called her a liar, Carol an accomplice, and the entire family a group of cowards who needed a child to excuse what they had done. I read it twice. Then I deleted it. Instead, I posted one screenshot from 3 years earlier. It was Vanessa's email to me after I offered to pay for verified testing. The baby is not yours. Stay out of our lives. If you contact Damon or interfere with our family again, I will consider it harassment. I added one sentence. This is what I was told in writing. I will not debate the rewritten version in a group chat. Then I muted the conversation. The marriage had not always looked like that email. For most of our 7 years together, Vanessa and I were stable in the way people often mistake for happy. We paid bills on time. We remembered birthdays. We had routines. On Saturday mornings, she made coffee and sat at the kitchen table scrolling through recipes she rarely cooked. I handled the grocery list. When something broke, I fixed it. When a problem came up, I made a plan. That was also part of what went wrong. Vanessa wanted me to sit beside her when she was upset. I wanted to solve whatever had upset her so we could stop being upset. Once, after an argument, she told me, "You solve the room so you don't have to be in it." I told her that did not make sense. It made perfect sense. I just did not like hearing it. Damon started appearing in her stories during the last year of our marriage. He remembered how she took her coffee. He noticed when she changed her hair. He sent her a song because it reminded him of something she had said. At first, she mentioned him casually. Then she mentioned him when she was angry with me. Damon listens. Damon doesn't turn every conversation into a project. Damon actually notices things. I suggested counseling after one especially bad argument. I said it the way I would schedule a repair appointment. We can find someone Tuesday or Thursday. I'll compare reviews. Vanessa laughed and rubbed both hands over her face. That's exactly what I mean. I thought agreeing to counseling proved I cared. She thought the way I agreed proved I did not understand her. Neither of us handled that period well. But my emotional rigidity did not put her in Damon's bed. I found out because a dinner reservation appeared on our shared tablet. We both used the same calendar for household plans, and a notification flashed across the screen while I was checking a delivery time. Reservation for 2. Friday, 7:30 p.m. Under Damon's name. The message preview attached to it said, "Finally, a night that's ours." I did not hack her account. I did not search her phone. I took a screenshot of the notification already sitting on a device we shared and waited until she came home. She walked into the kitchen, saw the tablet on the counter, and stopped. "How long?" I asked. She tried to tell me it was just dinner. I turned the screen toward her. She sat down. The affair had been emotional for months and physical for several weeks. She said our marriage had already ended in every way that mattered. "That's interesting," I said. "I don't remember being invited to that decision." She cried. I did not. At least not in front of her. I told her we would sleep in separate rooms and communicate about finances in writing until we decided what came next. She accused me of turning our marriage into a legal case. I said, "You turned it into a 3-person relationship. I'm just trying to count correctly." That was how I spoke when I was hurt. Dry, precise, mean enough to make the other person bleed without giving them anything dramatic to point at. 2 weeks later, Vanessa told me she was pregnant. For about 3 seconds, before she said Damon's name, I felt hope. It was irrational. Our marriage was collapsing. She had cheated. I did not know what I wanted from her anymore. But I had always wanted children. Then she said, "It's Damon's." I asked how she knew. The timing. What timing? She gave me an estimated due date from memory. 4 days later, in an email about moving expenses, she gave me a different date. Vanessa and I had slept together one final time during a failed attempt to reconcile. It happened after I discovered the emotional affair, but before she admitted the physical part had already begun. I remembered the date because it was the last night I believed there might still be something to save. I asked for the medical dating information and a verified paternity test when it was medically and legally appropriate. She looked at me with contempt. "Damon already accepts the baby. That is not a test. You're trying to hold on to me." "No, I'm trying not to lose a child based on your confidence." She said asking for proof was insulting. I said, too coldly, "You do not get certainty just because certainty is convenient." A few days later, I sent a calm email offering to pay for appropriate testing. Marisol helped me word it. Vanessa's response was the one I later posted in the group chat. "The baby is not yours. Stay out of our lives." That same week, she asked me to keep paying joint expenses while she moved in with Damon because pregnancy had made everything complicated. One of our shared cards was used for furniture delivered to Damon's address. Another charge was for a baby item purchased before Vanessa claimed she had even told Damon about the pregnancy. After notice and legal advice, I froze the shared cards, separated the accounts, and documented every transaction. Vanessa said I was financially punishing a pregnant woman. I said I was refusing to furnish the home she had built inside our marriage. I inventoried the belongings she left behind, photographed everything, boxed it carefully, and arranged delivery. The only date she confirmed happened to be the afternoon of her and Damon's engagement party. I knew the timing would embarrass her. I could have tried harder to change it. I did not. The boxes arrived while their guests were there. Nothing was damaged. Nothing was displayed publicly. But everyone saw the moving company carry in framed wedding photos, winter coats, old kitchen appliances, and the ceramic lamp Vanessa had insisted we buy together. Carol called me vindictive. I told her, "Vanessa picked the delivery window. You could have shown grace. She could have picked up her property." I felt satisfied after the call, which is one of the things I am least proud of. Then Vanessa started telling people I had thrown her out because I hated children. She said I had refused testing. She said I had cut her off without warning. Some of my relatives believed her. A few stopped inviting me to events where children would be present because they thought my attitude would make everyone uncomfortable. One uncle told me, "You made your choice." I showed my immediate family the emails, account notices, and testing request. I did not post anything publicly. I did not put medical information online. But I also did not have the energy to fight every person who preferred Vanessa's version. The divorce dragged on. No paternity test happened. Damon signed documents and acted as Eli's father. Vanessa's attorney treated my questions as an attempt to interfere with their family. Marisol told me I could continue pursuing the issue, but it would be expensive, hostile, and uncertain without new evidence. I was not sleeping. I was barely eating. Every exchange with Vanessa turned into another accusation. So I stopped chasing. That decision haunted me. I knew she had denied paternity in writing. I knew Damon was presenting himself as the father. I knew forcing the matter could make me look obsessed with a child everyone insisted was not mine. Still, every year on Eli's birthday, I wondered. I bought a card for his first birthday and left it blank. I bought another for his second and never took it out of the bag. By his third birthday, I had stopped buying them, but the date stayed in my private calendar. 3 quiet birthdays. Then Vanessa stood at my door with Damon's exclusion report and acted as though the missing years had been a misunderstanding we could solve over a weekend. Marisol sent Vanessa written conditions for moving forward. The test would be through an accredited laboratory with chain of custody procedures. I would pay the lab directly. There would be no cash payments before legal advice. Vanessa would not tell Eli to call me dad. There would be no cohabitation. There would be no discussion of reconciliation tied to parentage. Vanessa called the list punitive. I called it 4 separate questions she kept trying to turn into one. Was I Eli's biological father? What legal rights and responsibilities followed? How should I build a relationship with him? Did Vanessa get access to my personal life again? She wanted one answer to all 4. I refused. A few days later, Vanessa signed a limited release for relevant medical records. That was when the first real crack appeared in her story. The early ultrasound report included an estimated due date and gestational age. The image Vanessa had sent me years earlier had been cropped just above that information. I placed the old image and the complete record side by side on my dining table. The crop ended exactly where the date began. The conception window was not exact. Marisol reminded me of that repeatedly. An ultrasound could not prove fatherhood, but it absolutely did not exclude me. The dates included the final night Vanessa and I had been together. I texted her one question. Why did the version you sent me end exactly where the date began? She did not answer. Instead, she wrote, Mom told me not to share private medical details while the divorce was hostile. I asked, did Carol know I was still possible? Vanessa replied, she knew there was confusion. That was different from what both of them had said for 3 years. I called Carol. She answered with a tired sigh, as if I were creating another inconvenience. What did Vanessa tell you before Eli was born? I asked. She was scared. That wasn't my question. She said there might be a tiny chance. I gripped the edge of my desk. A tiny chance that I was his father? She didn't think it was real. But she told you. Louis, Damon was willing to commit. You were asking questions. Somebody had to think about stability. You knew. Do not make this uglier than it was. How could it be uglier? Carol's voice sharpened. You were making everything legal. Damon was making plans. Vanessa needed someone who wanted that baby without conditions. I wanted the truth. She needed a future. And you decided Eli's future did not require knowing who his father was. She said I was twisting it. I asked her to confirm what she had just told me by text. She refused. I did not secretly record the call. I wrote notes immediately after and sent them to Marisol. A week later, the written corroboration came from Damon's side. Through counsel, we received an archived message Vanessa had sent him before Eli was born. Louis is still asking for a test, but the dates make him impossible. He's just trying to stay connected to me. Damon had replied, I'll sign everything, but I need him permanently out. I'm not starting our family with him hanging around. The message did not make Damon innocent. He knew I had asked for testing. He accepted Vanessa's claim that the dates excluded me because it made him feel chosen. But another message showed that Vanessa had told him she and I had not been intimate for more than 6 weeks before conception. That was false. An old direct text from Vanessa to me referenced our final night together and how it had confused everything. She had maintained 2 timelines. One for me, one for Damon, and a third for the family, where I refused a test she had actually refused. I printed the messages and placed them in the folder I had been building. Then I went into my garage and punched an empty cardboard moving box until one side collapsed. Rachel found me there 20 minutes later because I had called her and then said nothing. She looked at the crushed box. Better than a wall, she said. I lost 3 years because she wanted Damon to sign faster. You don't know that yet. I know she knew. Yes. I know Carol knew. Yes. I want every person who called me a deadbeat to read every word. Rachel folded her arms. You probably have the right to defend yourself. Probably. You also look happy that the building is finally on fire. I hated that she was right enough to make me angrier. The sample collection happened the following week. The laboratory checked our identification. The technician documented the collection, sealed the samples, and had each step witnessed. Eli sat on Vanessa's lap and cried when the swab touched the inside of his cheek. I stood several feet away with my hands clenched. Vanessa kept asking the technician how quickly support could begin if the result was positive. The technician told her that was not something the laboratory handled. In the parking lot, she asked me for money for groceries. I'll pay for groceries to be delivered, I said. Why can't you just give me cash? Because every payment needs to be traceable. You think I'm going to steal from my own child? I think you asked me to label a motel bill as support before I had a test. She stepped closer. Eli cannot wait while you finish proving a point. A test is not a lease, a reunion, or a blank check. Her face went still. I saw Eli watching us from the back seat. I immediately regretted the tone. Later, I sent her a message. That was cruel. I'm not taking back the boundary, but I'm taking back how I said it. Send a grocery list, and I will place the order. She replied with a list and no acknowledgement. The waiting period lasted several days. I bought a small set of wooden cars and hid them in the top of my hall closet because hope felt dangerous. At night, I imagined both results. If Eli was not mine, I would be relieved and ashamed of the relief. If he was mine, I would have a son and proof that I had missed his first 3 years. Vanessa texted asking me to describe the situation to both families as an honest misunderstanding. I told her I would make no statement before confirmation. She replied, "You care more about being right than about giving him a family." I wrote back, "You keep saying our family, like the last 3 years were a calendar error." That was another message Marisol later told me she would hate hearing read aloud in mediation. I apologized for the sarcasm, not the point. Then Marisol called. "Louis," she said and paused. I knew. The report confirmed I was Eli's biological father. I stared at the probability statement until the numbers blurred. My first thought was not joy. It was 3 missed birthdays. 3 years of bedtime stories I had not read, fevers I had not sat through, first words I had not heard, and ordinary mornings I could never recover. Marisol kept talking. She explained the next filings, temporary arrangements, information access, and how existing acknowledgments might need separate treatment. I heard maybe half of it. Then my phone lit up with a message from Vanessa. "Can we come home now?" I did not answer. I met Marisol in person that afternoon. We agreed to pursue legal parentage, a gradual parenting plan, access to medical and educational information, and properly documented support. I also agreed that I would not rush into unsupervised weekends with a 3-year-old who did not know me. Vanessa called that cruel too. Nora Blake, the child development specialist involved in the first meetings, did not care which adult felt insulted. Eli does not need a verdict, she told us. He needs adults who return when they say they will. Our first meeting happened in a neutral room with a low table, shelves of toys, and 2 small chairs that made my knees hurt. Eli stayed close to Vanessa at first. He called me Mr. Lou. I did not correct him. I brought the wooden cars, but I left them in the bag until he noticed them. He picked up a blue one, rolled it across the table, and looked at me as though waiting to see whether I understood the rules. I rolled it back. That was most of our first conversation. At one point, he asked, "Is Dad coming?" He meant Damon. My chest tightened. Vanessa looked uncomfortable, but Nora gave me a small nod. "I don't think Damon is coming today," I said. Eli frowned. "Mom said you didn't like kids before." The room went silent. I wanted to look at Vanessa. I wanted to ask how many times she had said that in front of him. Instead, I kept my eyes on Eli. "Adults got some things wrong," I said. "None of it was because of you." He pushed the blue car toward me again. At the end of the visit, Nora asked whether he wanted to take one car home. He chose the blue one. In the hallway, after he was out of earshot, I told Vanessa, "Do not script him against me again. I was trying to explain why you weren't there. You explained it by lying. He's 3. What was I supposed to say? That adults were figuring things out. You weren't figuring anything out. You were gone. You told me to stay gone." She looked away. A few days later, Vanessa proposed family counseling. At first, I assumed she meant co-parenting counseling. She meant reconciliation. Eli deserves to wake up with both parents, she said. He deserves stable parents. That does not require married parents. We were happy once. We were functional once. You still have our wedding album. It was in a box I didn't open. She said Damon was gone. The truth was out, and we could rebuild slowly. She called what happened a terrible series of choices. Not lies. Not deliberate exclusion. Choices. Then she asked me to tell Damon and both families that she had never had a real reason to doubt his paternity. That was when I understood the offer. She did not just want me back. She wanted me to repair her ending. I wrote my answer because I did not trust myself to say it without being cruel. I will participate in counseling focused on co-parenting. I will not participate in marital reconciliation. Eli being my son does not restore you as my wife. I will not make any false statement about what you knew. She replied, so this is punishment. I wrote, no, this is separation. Carol organized a family dinner 2 weeks later to stop the fighting. The invitation implied I would be announcing that Vanessa and I were putting our family back together. I almost refused to go. Then Carol posted another message saying I was withholding support until Vanessa apologized publicly. That was false. Support was being handled through counsel and traceable payments. Parenting access was being handled separately. I told Carol I would attend under 3 conditions. Eli would not be present. Rachel would come with me. I would be allowed to bring the timeline. Carol said, why would you bring a legal folder to a family dinner? Because your family dinner already has a verdict. Rachel tried to talk me out of going. You can defend yourself without turning this into a trial, she said. They spent 3 years trying me without evidence. And now you want a jury. I want the lies to stop. You also want to watch Vanessa lose the room. I did not answer. The dinner was at Carol's house. Vanessa sat near the center of the table, pale and tense. Several relatives who had stopped speaking to me were there. No one touched much food. Carol started by saying, we are here because Eli needs the adults to act like a family. I said, he needs adults to stop lying. Vanessa shook her head. See, this is what he does. Everything is an attack. Carol told me not to interrupt. Then Vanessa gave her version. She said she had honestly believed Damon was the father. She said I had pushed her away during pregnancy. She said I had refused to support her unless she submitted to my demands. She said she never knew there was any real doubt. She said I was now using money and access to punish her because I would not forgive her. I let her finish. Then I asked, did I request a paternity test during the pregnancy? She hesitated. You mentioned one in a threatening way. Did I offer to pay for it? You were trying to control the process. Did you reply that the baby was not mine and order me to stay out of your lives? She looked at Carol. I was scared. That wasn't my question. One relative muttered that this was unnecessary. I opened the folder. My hands were shaking badly enough that I dropped one page and lost my place. For a second, the room blurred. Then Rachel reached down, picked up the page, and placed it in front of me without saying anything. I showed the original email with preserved headers. I showed the group chat, where Vanessa later claimed I had refused testing. I showed the cropped ultrasound image she sent me and the complete record that included the date. I showed the disclosed message where she told Damon I was still asking for a test, while also telling him the dates made me impossible. I showed her direct text referencing our final night together. Then I showed the recent message asking me to say she had never known there was doubt. I kept Eli's personal medical details out of it. I did not post anything online. I did not call Vanessa names. I asked her to identify her own messages. She did. The silence after that was worse than shouting. Carol finally said, she was trying to protect stability. I turned to her. You knew I was possible. Carol's face hardened. I knew she was frightened. You told her to choose the man willing to sign immediately. Damon was making plans. You were asking questions. I was asking whether the child was mine. A real father does not keep score like this. That was the moment I stopped trying to sound calm. I did not walk away from him. She told me he was not mine, refused the test, and taught everyone here to call her decision my abandonment. My voice cracked on the last word. Vanessa started crying. You think I planned to ruin my own life? She asked. No. I think you planned to get the life you wanted, and you decided the truth was negotiable. I made the best decision I could with what I knew. No. You knew there was a possibility. A tiny one. You do not get to call 3 years tiny. Carol said forgiveness was the only way Eli could have a normal family. I looked around the table at people who had repeated Vanessa's story, excluded me, and treated my questions as proof of bad character. One aunt apologized directly. She said, "I told people you wanted nothing to do with him. I was wrong, and I should have asked you." Another relative said Vanessa had lied, but still believed I was cruel for presenting everything at dinner. That was fair, because the folder was necessary for defending myself. The dinner was partly revenge. I wanted them to see her cornered by her own words. I wanted the room to turn. And when it did, I felt satisfaction before I felt anything else. Vanessa wiped her face and said, "Does being right matter more to you than having a family?" I closed the folder. "He is my family." She stared at me. "You are his mother. I will co-parent with you. I will support him. I will seek parenting time, share decisions, attend appointments, and show up when I say I will." Her expression changed as she realized what I was about to say. "But you are not moving into my home. We are not reconciling. I will not tell people you never knew. And I will not let you use Eli as a key to reopen a marriage you locked me out of." Carol said, "How many adults need to be right before one child gets a normal week?" I stood. A normal week starts with everyone knowing which house they're going to and which promises are real. It does not start with me pretending this never happened. Vanessa said I was destroying Eli's family. I looked at her and said, "You cannot define family as access to me." Then I left before the room could negotiate my boundaries. The legal aftermath was slower and less dramatic than the dinner. There was no instant custody victory. There was no judge handing me a child because a DNA report had my name on it. Attorneys dealt with the existing acknowledgement, legal parentage, support, and temporary parenting arrangements through the appropriate process. A mediator helped establish a gradual schedule based on Eli's adjustment. The plan included neutral exchanges, medical information sharing, traceable payments, and communication through a co-parenting app. Vanessa wanted to attend every visit. I refused. Nora agreed that Eli needed some time with me without constantly reading his mother's reactions. My parenting time increased slowly. At first, Vanessa called the structure controlling. I told her structure was what remained when trust was gone. Damon's role was complicated. He did not disappear from Eli's life the moment the test excluded him. He had raised him for 3 years. Eli called him Dad. Damon was grieving a child who was still alive, but whose place in his life had become legally uncertain. Eventually, Damon asked to speak with me through a structured conversation. He looked older than I remembered, less confident. "I believe the version that made me feel chosen," he said. "That part is mine. You knew I wanted a test. I knew you were asking. She told me the timing made you impossible. You accepted the answer you wanted." "Yes. I expected that admission to make me feel better." "It did not." He said, 3 years with him did not disappear because a report changed. "I know. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking you not to make him lose everyone at once." Part of me wanted to say Damon had already helped make me lose everything at once. Instead, I thought about Eli asking whether Dad was coming. With professional and legal guidance, we supported a careful transition that did not force Eli to treat Damon like a stranger. I did not compete through gifts. I did not demand a title. That was harder than any argument with Vanessa. Eli and I built our relationship through small things. He liked buttered noodles, but hated sauce touching the side of the bowl. He wanted the same book read twice before bed. He became furious if a toy car was called a race car when he had decided it was a rescue car. He was afraid of the sound the bathroom fan made. The first time he stayed for several hours without Vanessa nearby, he asked every 20 minutes when she was coming back. I answered every time. At the end of one visit, he left the blue wooden car on my coffee table. "You forgot this," I said. He shook his head. "It stays here. For next time." He nodded. That small car affected me more than the DNA report had. Vanessa continued testing boundaries. She arrived late to exchanges and then accused me of documenting everything. I logged the missed times in the app and refused to argue in front of Eli. She sent long emotional messages about how formal the arrangement felt. I answered only the parts related to Eli. She sometimes called the schedule temporary, as if we were still moving toward living together. I corrected her once. Our co-parenting arrangement may change as Eli's needs change. Our divorce is not temporary. After that, I stopped engaging with the implication. A few relatives retracted what they had said about me. Some apologized. Others quietly started inviting me again without acknowledging anything. I sent the full timeline only to the people who had publicly accused me. I required Vanessa to correct the record before I attended joint family events. For a while, I carried that folder everywhere. Not literally, but close. Anytime someone repeated part of the old story, I wanted to send all of it. Every message, every date, every contradiction. Then Vanessa sent what she considered an apology. I'm sorry for how everything turned out. I was trying to protect stability for Eli. I know some of my decisions hurt you, but I hope you can stop correcting people now because it is damaging my relationships and making co-parenting harder. I read it 3 times. There was no admission that she had knowingly excluded me. There was no acknowledgement of what Eli lost. She was sorry for the outcome and the consequences. I replied, I will not campaign against you. I will not post private information. I will not involve Eli. But when someone directly repeats a false claim about me, I will correct it with the minimum documentation necessary. Co-parenting does not require me to protect a lie. She asked to meet privately for closure. I refused. That night, Rachel came over and found the evidence folder on my table again. You still adding to it? She asked. I'm organizing it. For court. Some of it. She opened the folder and looked at the printed group chats, old emails, and duplicate screenshots. Then she said, you needed this to defend yourself. You don't need to carry it into every room. I'm not. You sent 12 pages to Aunt Denise because she said Vanessa was confused. She accused me publicly. Rachel sat across from me. Do you want your son, or do you want her cornered? Decide before he notices. I told her that was unfair. She agreed. Then she waited. I finally admitted that I had enjoyed watching Vanessa lose control of the story. I had enjoyed seeing relatives turn on her. I had wanted the truth, but I had also wanted punishment. Both things could be true. The next day, I removed the unnecessary screenshots from my mediation file. I kept the legally relevant evidence. I stopped sending the full history to new people. I did not forgive Vanessa. I did not revise what she had done into a frightened mistake. But I stopped looking for fresh audiences. Months later, Eli had a predictable routine with me. He still called Damon Dad. He usually called me Lou, though sometimes it became my Lou when he was tired. Nora told me not to push. Let him choose the name before you ask him to understand the relationship, she said. So I did. On a Sunday afternoon, Eli arrived carrying the same scratched red truck he had held on my doorstep. We spent an hour building a road from couch cushions. He parked the truck beside the wooden cars and announced that all of them lived there now. When Vanessa came to pick him up, he ran to the door, then turned back. Keep it safe till next weekend, he said. I will. He studied my face with the seriousness only a 3-year-old can bring to a toy-related agreement. You promise? I promise. He nodded and left. Vanessa waited until he was buckled into the car before asking whether I had reconsidered counseling for the family. No. Louis, we could still make this easier. For who? She did not answer. I closed the door. The truck stayed beside the wooden cars all week. Vanessa never got to rebuild our marriage out of the wreckage she brought back. She never got to turn my son into a key for the life she had locked me out of. Eli got a place in my life, and I learned that making room for him did not require surrendering the boundaries that kept the rest of that door closed. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.